beginners, welcome back to the craft room. You've clicked on it. It is the tutorial for this beautiful little clip. Isn't it so cute? So in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to make the roses for this, how to make the little leaves for this, how to put this stitching onto the actual clip so that you can sew it on, and I'm going to teach you how you can sew it on. I'm not going to teach you how to do your hair because I can't even do my hair on most days. However, isn't it just so pretty? So without further ado, there are timestamps below just in case you did a bit of it and need to come back to it. But honestly, please tag me on Instagram if you make these in different colours, especially neons and goth colours and blue and orange, obviously. I just made it in princess colours because I thought it was a bit of fun. So yes, please do tag me if you make these because I would love to make more of these and I want to be inspired, and a million brains are better than none. But yeah, so anyway, here's the tutorial. Enjoy! So for today's tutorial, you are going to need a hook. I got mine from the Pigeon's Nest. This is I believe it's a 2.5. Pretty sure it is. Look at the beads on it, it's so cool. So you'll need a hook. Probably a small one if you're making, well, it depends on the yarn to be fair, but this is what I'm using. You will need some snip snips. So here's my trusty sharp old snip snips, which are a bit crusty. And you will need one of these guys. You need some kind of needle to be sewing things in, yeah? So that's your tools. So crochet hook, needle, and snip snips. You are also going to need a hair clip, which is around this kind of shape, and specifically this kind of shape because you want to crochet around this bit here and then create a base for us to sew our flowers onto. So you'll be putting we'll be crocheting around this side and this side if you want the flowers on both sides. So one of these, I got mine off Temu. I believe it was about maybe less than £2 for 4 of these. And this is pretty big. Look at this, size of my hand. I have long hair. If you have shorter hair or you have smaller clips, bonus, you're going to use less yarn and you're probably going to be able to make 2 or 3 of these. So one of those, the other utensils, and some yarn. Let's show you the yarn. So I got this from Knotted by Niche. I will link her down below because she is a wonderful human who dyes some of the most fabulous yarn. This one's sparkly. How good is that? So I'm going to use this. I'm also going to use a green because we need a green for this. This one, I'm not going to make flowers with it. You're going to see exactly what I'm doing with it. And then I'm going to make a few different solid flowers. So from Untethered Yarn, I will link her socials down below. I got these beautiful sparkly skeins. So I think we'll crack open a couple of these to make some beautiful flowers. But aren't these so nice? So I'm going to go and skein or ball these up and then we will get underway. I also have this from Castleview Yarns and I am just going to be using this green colour for leaves. Okay, with a slip knot on your hook, you need to make a chain. Now this chain needs to be made in multiples of 3. So the more you chain, the bigger the flower is going to be. I would say minimum chain should be at least maybe 39 to 42 for your smallest one. I'm going to chain about 66 for mine because I want a medium to big size rose. Maximum, I would say, would be somewhere maybe 99, 102. But if you want a really big rose, you could kind of experiment and keep going. But I'm going to chain 66 for this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And don't chain too tight because your rose will go a bit weird. So a nice even tension. 5, 6. 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, and 66. Right, lovely. So you should have a nice long-ish chain, depending on how many you've chained. So once you have chained your required number of chains, you are going to, when I can get myself organised, you want to skip 5 and you want to make a double crochet into the 5th chain. Okay, so let me just take this out because this little loop here, this guy doesn't count because he's on your hook. So we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so into the 5th one. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to count the little V's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put my hook in. I will yarn over. And then it's going to be fiddly. This one's always fiddly. Then you're going to pull through 2. You still have 2 loops on your hook and then pull through 2, like that. And what you've created is technically like a V-stitch. So it's kind of like a double crochet and then a chain and then a double crochet. Now what you want to do is yarn over straight away, and then you are going to skip 2 and make a double crochet into that next stitch. Okay, and then yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now it is very fiddly. If you're using thicker yarn, it's probably not going to be as fiddly. Okay, once you've made that double crochet, you will chain 2, then you'll yarn over, and you are going to double crochet into the same stitch. Just like that. And then you are going to skip 2, and you are going to make another V-stitch. So yarn over, skip 2, and then into this chain you will do a double crochet. Yes, it will be fiddly. Oh my god. There. And then chain 2, and then yarn over, double crochet back into the same stitch. Like that. Okay. And then you will skip 2. So skip, skip, you've yarned over, go into this stitch, and then make another V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 2, into the same stitch, double crochet. And you're just going to do this all the way along your chain. And it should start to look like little V-stitches, yeah? So this little tight one at the end there, but then we've got a V and a V and a V. So every time you make a V, you just yarn over, skip 2 stitches, and then you do double crochet, chain 2, and then double crochet into here. Okay, and just do that all the way along there, and I will meet you back just before we do the end one, and I'll show you what you do. I have just got to the last 3 stitches, so that multiple of 3 does get you, like, it should leave you with 3 chains right at the end. Oh my god, what's that bit of fluff? It should leave you with 3 chains right at the end, which luckily it has done here. So you would just yarn over, and then you would make a V into this very last stitch, which is a double crochet, and then chain 2, and then a double crochet into there. If you didn't have like 3 chains left, if you had 4 chains, it's totally fine. Just do it into the end one. If you had 5 chains left, you could probably sneak 2 V's in there. So this is what it should look like pretty much across the whole chain once you've done it. So you'll have a nice big long chain. Okay, so that's the side that we've just finished crocheting at. What you need to do is go like to the other end here where there's no tails or anything, and then you need to count 5 back. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what you're going to do is pop in a stitch marker, because for the last 5 stitches, well, for me, for the last 5, I tend to do something a bit different with them. I make them a little bit bigger than the ones that I've just crocheted before them. If you want to, you could make bigger petals from like 6, 7 or 8 back if you wanted to, and it just, these are the petals that will be underneath the flower, so they have to be a bit bigger to stick out. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my stitch marker in, and then we're going to do the next row. So now that you've completed this row, you want to chain 3, and then you're going to turn. Now for the first couple of petals per se, we're going to do something different to like the rest of the flower. So for the first 2 V's, we're going to make just like plain curved petals. So after you chain 3, you want to yarn over, and then you just want to make 5 more double crochets into this V space. So there's 1, 2, and then in the space between the V's and this one here where my finger is, you want to do a single crochet, just like that. And then into this V space, you want to do 6 double crochets. So there's 1, 6. Right, so there's 6, and then into the next chain, well, the next space, which is not a V space, so into this space between the V's, do a single crochet. And that's how you always start off your first 2 petals for this rose. Okay, so after the single crochet, you need to yarn over. Now we are going to put 6 double crochets into here, but once we've done 3 of them, we're going to do a picot. So firstly make 3 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to just go under. If you hold it up like this, you'll see these 2 stitches right here. You want to go under both of those, grab your yarn, pull it through those 2, but then also pull it through the loop there. Okay, and then just yarn over and do 3 more double crochets into the chain space, and you'll have just popped in a little picot in the middle of these 6 stitches. So, and then after you finish those, you want to do a single crochet into the space between the V's. Okay, I'm just going to show you. So it's like a nice little pointy rose petal just there like that. I'll do it again for you. So 1, 2, 3, and then chain 3, and then go into those 2 legs there, pull that through, and then it's fiddly, pull it through that one there, and then 3 more double crochets into the chain space. 1, 2, and 3, and then a single crochet into that little space between the V stitches. I'm just going to pull that up. So we've got the first 2 petals, 1, 2, and then we're starting to do our little pointy rose petals, and you can roll this up just to check on it like that, and you'll see it'll start to look a bit rosy. Okay, so just repeat this all the way until you get to your stitch marker. If you are doing a longer rose, or a bigger rose, if you've chained like 90, instead of putting that stitch marker at the final 5, you could probably do it like maybe at the final 7 or 8, but just play with this pattern. It's not like a, you must do it this way type pattern. It's a fun pattern and you can play with it, but this is just what I'm going to do for my hair clip. So yeah, I'm going to continue and do just exactly this up until I reach that stitch marker, and then I'll show you how to make bigger petals. Okay, right, so I have now done my little petals here. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, and then you're going to treat these ones a bit differently. I mean, if you want to start for more than 5 back, you're welcome to do this. If you want to do the whole rose with this, you're welcome to do this. But we are going to make bigger petals to kind of frame the underside of the flower. So you want to start off with a double crochet. So there, and then you want to do 3 trebles. So you need to yarn over twice, go in, grab your yarn, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then pull through 2. Do that 2 more times. 1 and 2. Oop, didn't get that one through there. There you go. And then you'll do your picot. So chain 3, and then go into the legs at the front, and then slip all the way through. And then you'll do 3 trebles and a double. So you'll yarn over twice. There's the first one. Second one. Third one, and then yarn over once and just do a double crochet, and then into the little space here in between the V stitches you are going to do a single crochet, because every petal has single crochets, and you'll see it's just slightly wider and slightly taller. So you want 4 more of those. And then I will see you at just when we're finishing off that last one. You can watch me do this one with some pretty music over it. Three more, see you at the end. Right, I have just done my final double crochet. Now at this point you want to chain 1 and then pull it through, and you want to give yourself a nice long tail. And now I'd say give yourself, well, because we're going to be using it to stitch onto the actual clip as well, you are going to give yourself probably about, I don't know, 30-ish centimeters, and then snip and pull it through. Right, now there are 2 ways that you can roll this up. So if you look at it, you can see this side was facing us because like the little V stitches are kind of looking at us. So this side was facing us as we were crocheting. So you can either roll it up with that side kind of on the inside. So I'm going to roll it up both ways and show you. So this is with the right side rolled in. Important to note that when you're rolling it, you don't want to roll it like into a point. You kind of want to roll it around. Keep the ends out, and then I just roll it so that it kind of makes almost like a flat bottom like that, and just keep moving your little tails, and you can kind of stretch it round and, you know, change the way you want it, etc. There, okay, so that is with the correct side for like looking inwards. Okay, now we can do the way that I prefer, which is when you have the correct side folded, well, like rolled outwards. So I'll show you that way. Let me just unroll it, and then we're going to roll it the other way. Okay, so it's when the way that you crocheted it, so it's facing away from you. So you want it rolling like this, and then as you roll it, the rose petals kind of start to point outwards like that, and then you just keep rolling it, and it kind of gives itself like a flat bottom. It'll look more flat once I've added more rows onto it. And this is where you can kind of stretch and pull and put your roses, like your petals, in the correct place or in the place that you want them. Okay, and then those bigger petals at the end will just really kind of stand forward like that. There. See, I prefer it this way with the correct side facing out. And it's got a bit of a flat bottom. So once you've kind of arranged it, be very, very careful. Just pop it down. And then with that extremely long tail, you want to grab your needle. It could be a tapestry needle, you know, just a needle that's thick enough to put your yarn through. So what I like to do first is kind of grab my needle, grab the top of the last stitch that you did, and then you just kind of find your needle going across all of the, like the whole bottom of the rose basically, like that. Okay, and then you're just gonna pull it through. Do it gently, you don't want anything bunching up, just do it very gently like that, and you've kind of anchored everything slightly. And then you don't want to go back into the place that you've come back out of, you want to go just kind of next to it. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going somewhere where I'm kind of jumping over a stitch, so I'm going to go in here, and then I'm just going to make my way back across the rows, and I've just popped out there. And with this one you can pull it a little bit tighter, yeah, but not really tight. Okay, and then it should have anchored everything in place. So now you can kind of pull it around and, you know, manipulate it if you need to, but I think this is kind of looking okay. So now you just kind of find another place to go in and out of your rows, and just make sure that you're stitching things down where you want them to be stitched down. So for example, I think this is a bit loose. I'm going to make sure I get it stitched in there, and then that side was a bit loose. I'm going to make sure that side is not wobbling. Okay, and then once you've done a few of these, it should all be kind of in the right place. It's not going to unravel itself. You don't even have to pop out the other side. You can pop out in the middle if you feel like that's going to secure it a bit more, like that, and then you could, you know, just tighten things up basically. Yeah, so I can throw it around and everything, it's not going anywhere. Okay, and then that pretty little rose is now ready to stitch onto my hair clip. Maybe just one or two more, just to be extra safe. Okay, right, I'm pleased with this. So I'm now going to arrange it with the other flowers, and I'm going to stick it on, I'm going to sew it onto my clip. Now, really important thing to consider is the direction in which you crochet. So I am right-handed and I crochet that way. So I'm going to tie my yarn on here, and that means I'm going to crochet around in an anti-clockwise direction. So if you are left-handed, you will be tying on the other side and you will be crocheting it around in a clockwise direction. So I'm going to put my yarn on here. I'm just going to double knot it, tie it on like a normal knot on there, and then I'll show you what we do after that. Now that my yarn is on here, now this is a bit fiddly, but I believe in you, you can do it. So you want to grab your hook, put it in, and then pull the yarn through, and then hook it, and then do a single crochet. And then just make, like when you're doing it, do it a bit loosely, like give yourself a bit of manoeuvrability room, and you can always pull it a bit tighter when the stitch is done. So you literally just single crocheting. Okay, so you're just reaching under, grabbing the yarn, pulling it back, yarn over again, and you're just doing a single crochet. And I'm going to just keep doing these just to show you. It will be fiddly in parts, but you can do this unless you want to grab your hot glue gun, then this step is unnecessary. But I want to sew mine on. And then just keep scooching them up and get them nice and tight. I mean, my clip itself here is green, so I'm not too bothered about everything being totally covered up, because I know that, you know, it just looks green anyway. So, but if yours is like a different colour that you're not keen on, then all you want to do is just keep bunching these up so that they will kind of get close to each other. So you just want to go around the whole clip, single crocheting, and just filling up the gaps on the clip. So I'll get to the teeth in just a second, and I'll show you what to do when you get to the teeth, because that can be even more fiddly sometimes. So let me just get there. Right, I've gotten to that bit. When I was doing the corner, obviously you're not really going to get it to fit in the corner, but it's fine. You're going to be putting flowers over it, so don't worry. Right, so it can be fiddly here because you have to hold the clip open. Now, depending on the sharpness of your clip, you might be able to maneuver your hands, but you could always put something like a pair of socks or something just to kind of hold it open if you wanted to, and then just go between, and then just do what you've been doing. So I'm just going to kind of go up here between its teeth, grab my yarn, and then just keep going, and you should get a nice little row here that you'll be able to stitch in. So you'll see all these little single crochet V's will give you like a little bit of leg to kind of get your needle under, and then you can stitch your flowers on. I mean, you could just wrap the wool around the actual clip if you wanted to. However, like this I feel is more secure. I mean, I'm just holding this up with my fingers as well. But yeah, you can, I mean, if you close it, you can't really get in between the teeth. So hence I'm just holding it open. But yeah, just keep going round and round. Don't do it too tight, but keep, like, pull it tight after you've done each stitch. And then you can just keep going. I mean, your clip might be built a little differently to mine, so I can't be specific on, you know, your clip. But as long as you're kind of doing the same type of thing and you're getting these nice little V's, then you're on the right track. Okay, so just do this all around. And then when you get round here and you're happy with that you've got enough, you know, places to stitch your flowers onto, then you can just do exactly the same thing for the other side. So I'll see you when you've done that and I'll show you mine. Okay, I'm just getting to the end of my clip. If it makes you feel any better, if you're feeling a bit faffy with it, I was getting my thumb involved in this, so I wasn't really crocheting the usual way that I would normally crochet garments. I was like, you know, fiddling around, and then, you know, it made it easier just to get my thumb. This is pretty much how I knit. When I'm trying to purl, I get my thumb involved. So, right, I think that is probably enough for mine. So literally just chain one. You don't need a massive tail. I'm going to kind of sew mine in. I managed to crochet over my actual first tails there, and I just kind of crochet over it and then I'll just snip it out. So this one here, I'll probably just take my needle and then just probably sew it like up that bit, and then I'll just snip it off. Now that the clip is done, you can grab your flowers and kind of just arrange them on to see how you want them to look. Okay, if you do want to put leaves on yours, I've got a super quick leaf. So what I want you to do is grab some leaf coloured yarn and then kind of leave a big tail before you make your slip knot, because you'll use that to sew it on. I'm just using the same hook, just my, I think this is my 2.5 or 3. I don't know, it doesn't say, but it's good for this size yarn. Anyway, what you were going to do is chain any number that you want your leaf. So whatever length you want your leaf. I'm going to chain 11. So 1. Okay, and then we're going to go a little bit Tunisian here. So in the second stitch from the hook, you are going to go into it and then just grab a yarn and pull up a loop and keep a hold of it. And then go into the next stitch, grab the yarn, pull up a loop, keep hold of it. Don't make them too loose, but don't make them too tight. Go into the next one and then pull up a loop, keep hold of it. And then just do that for every single stitch back along the chain. Okay, once you have got to the end, you're just going to yarn over and then just pull through 2 at a time. So through 2, and don't do it too loose either. Like do it just like a nice kind of, the same kind of tension you've used for the whole leaf basically, but just not too loose. You don't want it too gappy. We're nearly there, and then through the final 2. So that's half your leaf, looks pretty good. And then you want to just chain 1, but make it a tight chain 1, and then turn, and then, I mean, there should be 9, this was like 9 loops that we pulled up, so you want to pull up 9 loops again. So you just want to kind of find a stitch from each of the beginning chains, and then you're just going to go in and pull up the loops. Okay, so if you made like at the start, if you made like, I don't know, 13 chains, you'd be pulling up 11 loops. Now we're basically matching up the yarn. So I'm going to go in. It doesn't matter if you don't get it perfect, I mean it's still going to look leafy. So there's 1, 2. Make sure you don't grab any of the leaf that you've just made. You have to grab the beginning chain. Once you're through all of them, you'll just go back and pull through 2 each time as you go back. Like that. Okay, so you've got this nice long tail to weave in. So what you want to do is just kind of join your leaf up to that first side there. It doesn't have to be perfectly neat. We're just going to kind of make a bit of a leaf tip. Pull that through. You can chain 1 if you want to make it a bit pointy. And then you don't need a massive tail because you will need to stitch this in. But there you go. And then that will just make a little cute leaf, like a little piece of like leafy garnish. Yeah, so then if you want to put it with the roses, then it just kind of makes a nice little bit of leaf. But yeah, these are optional, you don't need to do these. So yeah, make as many leaves as you want, make as many flowers as you want, and we're going to go and assemble. Okay, right, for assembling time, if you want, you can attach your leaves to the roses before you start, or you can just kind of place things. So I'm going to just place them on. I will move the camera in a second to show you, but I've got 2 of these pastel roses, I've got 2 purples, and I've got 2 hot pinks. So I'm going to assemble them in a nice way. I'm thinking for mine, I want the pastel-y one in the middle, and then I'll have the big pink one there. And you can squash them up, like stitching them on is going to squash them up anyway. And then you can choose if you want your leaves kind of put in. I think I might sew the leaves in last, because remember, you can open the clip up and you can, you know, you can open it and you can see behind, and you can sew things around into the yarn behind. Also, what might be worth doing is grabbing like a deodorant can or something that holds the clip open. I just happen to have some turning lotion in a bottle, which is going to hold that open nicely for me whilst I'm sewing things on. So to sew things on, grab your long tails of the flowers and your long tails of the leaves, and that's what you're going to use. So when you're happy with the placement, you can go ahead and just kind of sew it on. I'm going to show you what I do to get the startedness of the sewing on done. I have grabbed my long tail on here, and I'm just going to, because this is going to be my end one, so I know that my tail kind of starts at the side. I want to put that kind of like so that it's there, so that I have room for the other ones. So the side is on that side of the rose. I'm going to kind of make it a bit more outer there. And I'm literally just going to put it through, just that one to begin with. And then, oh my god, everything's trying to get involved. The leaves want to be on already. And then it will just kind of find its way there. And then you just want to, you can kind of reach and see behind. You just kind of want to sew it on in a few different places. And if you really want to, you can go back up through the rose as well, which I think I will do that. I think I'll do a couple of stitches into the actual rose, just like this. And then, like, it doesn't have to be neat. I mean, as long as it's on here and it looks neat from the outside, then I am happy. There we go. So you can see that it's stitched there, and then I'm going to stitch it through other bits there, and I'm really going to properly secure it on. So stitching in through the rose and in through like all of the stitches on here, just as if I was sewing like 2 things together. So yeah, that's kind of how you do it. I can take it off and show you a bit more from this perspective. So my thread, like this is the other thread from there. I will actually leave that, and I will do a bit more of tying on with it so that it's extra secure. But with the one that I'm stitching, I'm going to go back up through the rows here like that. And then I can put it through all of these if I want to. And it's nice and secure on there. Like that. And it just makes it way more secure. So I think I'll go back through the rows again. And then I can go all the way back through the stitches on the clip again. Okay, I have used a lot of this tail, and as you can see, this rose, it's pretty well stuck on. So as just like a final little bit of securing on this, I will just take this and I'll just tie it on like that. Double knot it. Oop, try not to get caught on the teeth. Like that. I mean, I could stitch them back and forward through it if I wanted to again. In fact, I'll triple knot this like that. Okay, I mean, I know that that's literally not going anywhere. I have sewed in and out of the rows. I've sewed in and out of these bits here, and it is literally, it is secure. It is well stuck on there. So I'm going to snip off. Where's my little snippers? I will snip off this one, just like that. Leave teensy little tiny tails there. But yeah, right, I'm going to sew all the flowers on, and then I'm going to sew the leaves on afterwards. So I'll do the flowers now, and then I will show you how it looks. So there is the finished article that you did see at the beginning of the video. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. Please, like I said, do tag me if you have made these. I would love to see the colour schemes that you guys have come up with, and basically if you've done it on any type of other clip as well. Anyway, I need to put this back in my hair because my hair be looking gross. So I'm going to see you guys in my next video. Bye!